So, think about the phone you're holding or maybe the coffee you're drinking. There's a really good chance they crossed a whole bunch of borders to get to you. And that's just a tiny glimpse into two enormous forces that are completely reshaping our world: globalization and supranationalism. Today, we're going to unpack how these big ideas are challenging the very definition of a country and who's actually in charge. And really, it all boils down to this one simple question. I mean, in a world where you can buy the exact same products in New York and in New Delhi, or where a decision made in one capital can affect a farmer halfway across the world, who is really calling the shots? That's the big puzzle we're tackling today. But before we can jump into all the ways the world is changing, we have to start with the basics. We need to understand the traditional way of thinking about power. And that conversation always begins with sovereignty. Okay, so for hundreds of years, this was pretty much the goal for any nation, to be the king of its own castle. That's what sovereignty is all about. It means you, as a state, have the final say over everything that happens inside your borders. You make the laws, you defend your territory, and no one from the outside can tell you what to do. This whole idea is the bedrock of how our world of countries is organized. Right, but the walls of that castle are starting to look a little, well, less solid than they used to be. And the first huge force that's chipping away at them is globalization. It's an incredibly powerful thing, but as we're about to see, it's definitely a double-edged sword. So what exactly is globalization? Well, at its heart, it's just the process of the world getting smaller and more connected. It's the nonstop flow of money, products, people, and of course, ideas zipping across borders. And all that connection creates this giant web where a decision in one spot can send ripples all across the globe. And check this out. This graph shows you the engine that made it all possible. Just look at that insane drop in the cost of moving stuff and talking to each other. Since the 1930s, the price of shipping, flying, and making international calls has absolutely plummeted. Technology didn't just connect the world, it made it cheap to connect the world. It literally made the world smaller. And this map, this is the direct result. Because it got so cheap and easy to connect, we did. This shows you just how many of us are now linked together digitally. We're not living in those isolated castles anymore. Now we're all nodes in one massive, planet-sized network. But, and this is so important, all of this connection doesn't just happen. It's not free. It comes with a massive trade-off. And it's a trade-off that forces every single nation to make some really tough choices. So here's the deal that globalization basically offers every country. On one hand, the benefits are huge. You get access to new ideas, which sparks innovation. You get global competition, which can make things cheaper for everyone. But the flip side has some serious drawbacks. Local cultures can get kind of washed away. And most importantly for our chat today, it directly threatens a nation's ability to be in charge of its own destiny, its sovereignty. So how does that threat actually play out? Well, for one, you have these giant corporations that operate everywhere. They can just pick up and move their money or factories to countries with lower taxes or fewer rules, making it really hard for any one government to regulate them. Then there's technology, which is moving so fast that governments literally can't write laws fast enough to keep up. And we've all seen how social media can be used to organize protests, completely bypassing a government's control over information. Okay, so you're a country, and you're facing all these global challenges. Trying to go it alone is getting tougher and tougher. So what do? Well, for many, the answer was to team up. And this brings us to our second massive force, supranationalism. But the big question here is there really strength in numbers? You can think of supranationalism like this. A group of countries voluntarily get together and say, hey, we've got this shared goal and we can achieve it by ourselves. So let's each give up a tiny piece of our independence to work as a team. It's about creating something bigger than just a single nation. Let's look at a couple of real-world examples. The biggest and most famous one, of course, is the European Union. You've got 27 countries that have pooled a significant chunk of their sovereignty to create this massive single market and to try to keep the peace. But these team-ups aren't just about money. Take NATO. This is a purely military alliance, and it's built on one incredibly powerful idea. An attack on one member is an attack on all of them. That's a huge promise, and it means giving up some control over when and where you go to war. And this is a truly global trend. Just look at the African Union. Here you have 55 states all working together on shared goals, like promoting peace and development across the continent. So whether it's for economic, military, or political reasons, the basic idea is the same. We can do more together than we can apart. And you guessed it, just like with globalization, joining one of these clubs means another trade-off. The upside is pretty clear. You get more stability, more economic opportunities, and a much bigger voice on the world stage. But the downside is also very real. It can tie a country's hands, limiting what it can do on its own, and it can mean that people's loyalties starts shifting away from their own nation.
So, when you put it all together, this push and pull of globalization and supranationalism, you arrive at the central, fundamental dilemma that pretty much every country is grappling with in the 21st century.
I mean, this quote from our source material just nails it, doesn't it? That classic model of the all-powerful state, the king and its castle, is being challenged from all sides by these enormous, borderless forces. And that brings us right back to where we started, but now we see the question in a whole new light. It's not a simple choice between independence or cooperation. The real challenge, the defining negotiation for every country right now, is finding the right balance. How much control are you willing to trade for the benefits of being part of the global team? There are no easy answers here. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. As these forces of globalization and supranationalism get stronger and more intertwined every single day, are we actually witnessing the slow fade of the independent nation-state as we've known it for centuries? Is it, just maybe, becoming a thing of the past?